I was a good mother, but I lost myself. I gave up my dreams for my children, and for a long time I told myself that was what a good mother was supposed to do. I told myself it was noble. I told myself it was love. And in some ways it was. I loved my children with everything I had. I would have done anything for them. I still would. But there is a difference between loving your children deeply and disappearing completely for them. I did not understand that difference until much later in life. When the house got quieter, the children grew up, and I finally had enough silence to hear my own thoughts again. When I was younger, I had dreams, real ones. Not vague fantasies, but things I actually wanted with my whole heart. I wanted to study. I wanted to build a life that was bigger than the one I was handed. I wanted to use my mind, my hands, my voice, and do something that felt like mine. I had ideas. I had plans. I had energy. And then life happened in the way it often does for women of my generation. I got married, had children, and slowly, almost without noticing it, my life stopped being about what I wanted and started being about what everyone else needed. At first, I did not resent it. In fact, I was proud of it. I believed that a good mother was someone who gave everything away. Her time, her sleep, her ambition, her money, her attention, her body, her privacy, her personality if necessary. I thought sacrifice was the same thing as love. I thought the less of myself I kept, the better mother I was becoming. That idea was praised so often that I never questioned it. People called me strong. People called me selfless. People said my children were lucky, and maybe they were. But nobody asked whether I was still there inside all of that praise. The truth is, I was exhausted for years, not just physically, though, that too. I mean the kind of exhaustion that comes from always being needed and rarely being seen. I lived in a constant state of interruption. One child needed help with homework. Another needed a ride. The house needed cleaning. Dinner needed making. Someone needed a doctor. Someone needed reassurance. Someone needed a form signed, a shoe tied, a shirt mended, a heart soothed. And because I was a mother, I stepped in automatically. Again and again. That is what mothers do. Or at least that is what I thought mothers had to do. Somewhere in the middle of all that, my dreams got quieter. They sat in the background like a voice in another room that I kept promising I would answer later. I told myself there would be time, after the children were older, after school, after the bills were lighter, after the house was calmer, after I had a little breathing room. But life has a strange way of making later disappear. One season rolls into the next, and before you know it, the thing you kept postponing has become the thing you no longer recognize. I do not blame my children. I want to say that clearly. I do not blame them at all. They were children. They asked for what children ask for: love, attention, safety, food, guidance, warmth. They deserved all of it, and I gave it. But I gave it in a way that left no room for me. I became so wrapped around their needs that I started to believe my own needs did not matter much anymore. That was the mistake, not loving them. The mistake was erasing myself while doing it. There were mornings when I looked at the woman in the mirror and hardly knew her. Her hair was always tied back. Her clothes were practical. Her hands were full. Her face was tired. I used to have interests. I used to have opinions. I used to feel excited about things that had nothing to do with laundry or lunch boxes. But over time, I became less of a person and more of a service. I know how harsh that sounds, but it is the truth. I was not alive in the way I had once been. The hardest part is that I didn't notice the cost until much later. When my children were young, I thought I was doing the right thing by putting everything else aside. I turned down opportunities. I stopped making plans that felt personal. I told myself I could return to myself later. I did not realize that every time I said no to my own life, I was teaching myself to stay small. I was teaching myself that my dreams were optional. And when you teach yourself that long enough, it becomes habit. There were moments when I almost reached for something more. A class I wanted to take, a small business idea I wanted to try, a trip I wanted to make, a piece of work I wanted to create. But every time I found a reason not to. Money, time, guilt, fear. There is always a reason. That is the dangerous part. Sacrifice can sound so reasonable that you never notice how much of yourself it has taken. And because I made those choices so often, I began to believe that being a good mother meant never wanting anything for myself too strongly. That is a lie I wish I could go back and unteach, because children do not benefit from a mother who has erased herself. They benefit from a mother who is whole, a mother with a life, a mother with interests, a mother who is more than a machine for solving problems. Children need to see that a woman can belong to herself and still belong to her family. I think one of the most painful things I ever realized was that my children did not actually ask me to disappear. I did that on my own. They loved me. They wanted me. They needed me. But they also needed to see a human being, not only a caretaker. They needed to see a woman who had a voice, a curiosity, a sense of self. Instead, I became so focused on being useful that I forgot to be visible. There is a memory that stays with me. I was sitting at the kitchen table one afternoon while one of my children was drawing. They asked me what I used to dream about when I was young. It was such a simple question, but I froze. I realized I had not spoken about my own dreams in so long that I almost couldn't answer. I laughed it off in the moment and changed the subject, but inside something cracked open. How sad is it really when you cannot even tell your own child what you once wanted from life? I wish I had answered honestly that day. I wish I had said I wanted more. I wanted to write. I wanted to travel. I wanted to create something. I wanted to be known for more than how well I could hold a household together. Not because my children should have carried that burden, but because they deserved to know that their mother had once been a full person before she folded herself into their needs. As the years passed, the sacrifices multiplied. I missed chances to develop friendships because I was always too busy. I let hobbies go because they felt indulgent. I said no to things I might have loved because I was already so tired. And the cruelest part is that I wore that tiredness like proof of virtue. Look how much I do. Look how much I give. Look how little I ask for. Somewhere along the way, I confused depletion with devotion. That is why I say I lost myself. Not in one dramatic moment, not in a single tragic decision. I lost myself slowly, quietly, one ordinary sacrifice at a time, one deferred dream at a time, one small maybe later at a time. That is how it happens, not with a bang, but with 1,000 little surrenders. If I could raise my children again, I would do many things differently. I would still love them fiercely. I would still protect them. I would still stay up with them when they were sick and worry about them when they were hurt. But I would not make their lives the only life I had. I would keep a piece of myself alive. I would protect it. I would let them see it. I would let them see that a mother can love deeply and still have a self that belongs to her. I would keep my friends close instead of letting them drift away because motherhood took all my attention. I would keep reading. I would keep writing. I would let my children see me as a woman who had a mind of her own and dreams of her own, because that teaches them something important. It teaches them that adulthood is not just sacrifice. It is also identity. It is also joy. And I would speak up sooner. That is another thing I wish I had done. I would have said, I need help. I would have said, I want something for myself too. I would have said, I am tired of always being the one who holds everything together. I think many mothers are afraid to say those words because they sound selfish, but they are not selfish. They are human. There is a difference. When you never ask for anything, you may look strong, but you are also teaching everyone around you that your needs do not matter. That is not a lesson I would want my children to learn. I want to be careful here because I do not regret my children. Never. They are the best thing I ever did. They are the brightest part of my life. What I regret is the version of motherhood I believed I had to live, the one that required me to vanish, the one that made self-sacrifice into an identity, the one that told me I had to become less in order to be worthy of being called a good mother. No, a good mother is not a disappearing act. A good mother loves her children and still remembers she is a person. She gives, but she does not erase. She supports, but she also exists. She nurtures, but she also grows. I wish someone had told me that when I was younger. I wish I had understood that making space for myself would not have taken love away from my children. It would have made me a more present, more patient, more peaceful mother. Because when you abandon yourself for too long, you become resentful without meaning to. You become brittle. You become tired in a way sleep cannot fix. And children can feel that, even if they cannot name it. They know when their mother has become hollow from giving too much. They feel it in the atmosphere of the home. They feel it in the way love begins to sound like duty instead of warmth. That is why I am telling you this now. If you are a mother, do not lose yourself while loving your children. Let them have your care, yes. Let them have your time, yes. But keep a place in your life that is yours. Keep one dream alive. Keep one friendship alive. Keep one part of your heart that is not constantly being spent. You are not betraying your children by being a whole person. You are teaching them something far more valuable. You are teaching them that love does not require self-destruction. And if you are a child watching this, maybe grown now, maybe with children of your own, I want you to understand something too. Your mother may have sacrificed more than you know. She may have hidden her grief behind routine. She may have made herself small because she thought that was what love required. If she did, maybe she was not trying to disappear. Maybe she was trying to survive the role she thought she had to play. If you can, ask her about the dreams she once had. Ask her who she was before she became only mom. You may be surprised by the answer, and she may be grateful that someone finally asked. I keep thinking now about the years I spent believing that one day I would come back to myself, that one day I would pick up the dream again, the old notebook, the forgotten idea, the version of me that still wanted more. And I do wonder what might have happened if I had not waited so long. I wonder what kind of mother I would have been if I had let myself be a person too. But regret is only useful if it teaches you something. So here is what I know now. Love should expand you, not erase you. Motherhood should not require the death of the self. And the children you love will not be hurt by seeing you live a life of your own. In fact, they may be stronger for it. If I had to say it in one sentence, I would say this. I was a good mother, but I lost myself. And I hope someone hearing me now gets to do both things better than I did.